Today we're taking a look at a watch that may or may not live up to my expectations. It's a watch that I've been talking about for a very long time here on my channel, Watch Chris, and of course that is the Presage Sharp Edge GMT. I think these watches look beautiful. Obviously the quality is there. There are QC issues, as a lot of Seiko do suffer from. However, is this watch a winner? Let's flip the camera and take a look at the Sharp Edge GMT limited edition for Seiko's 140th anniversary. So again, I have to thank my really good friend Rock the Watch for lending this watch into the channel. It's a watch that I have wanted to get here for a very long time. This is the Seiko Presage 140th anniversary Sharp Edge GMT. Now, it's not the 140th anniversary version that I wanted to get on the channel, even though it's a really nice version of this watch. It's really the Sharp Edge GMT. It's a beautiful watch that a lot of people sort of had mixed feelings about because of some quality control issues that were sort of pointed out earlier on when these originally came out. Now you can get these for around $1,000. Even this version, you can get this around $1,100. It's a limited edition of like 3,500 pieces. It has a beautiful pearl white dial, blue sort of metallic bezel. There is a bi-colored chapter ring. These are really gorgeous watches. They're sort of baby Grand Seikos, and I've said this in the past about this watch, about these Presage Sharp Edge watches, because of the dial textures that they put on here. All of them get a hemp texture, and that texture is sort of, I don't know, it's organic, it's angular. They do a great job with these watches. They do have some problems, and it's the typical Seiko problems. This one has a slightly, very slightly misaligned 24 on that bezel. So it's a little bit misaligned versus the actual 12 o'clock index. That's unfortunate because it's such a good looking watch. If you could look past it, and I think that Rock the Watch, and I will put a link to his channel down below. I will put a link to the video that he did for this watch as well, because I think that, you know, it's important to get a couple of different perspectives of a watch, and really you should only make the decision for yourself if you're going to buy a watch. But from my perspective, I have been a fan of this since the moment it came out. I like the dial, I like the texture that they're using. I like at the 9 o'clock that you get a power reserve and then you have a radial date there at the 6 o'clock. I think all of this really works. You get big sort of sword hands on here. Those are filled with Lume. You do get a non-screwed in crown, but you do get 100 meters of water resistance with this, and it does have a display case back. This is a true GMT. This is the 6R64. It's a movement that's been around for a very long time. It's essentially the GMT version of the 6R35, but you don't get as much power reserve because this is actually an older movement that they just sort of started using again in watches like these. And the whole point of this watch is that organic sharp edge look. So the case, the Presage case on here is beautiful. They do a great job with these cases. You have polishing on the side, but then you have these sharp transitions to brushing on the tops of the lugs. Everything looks really good. Even the bracelet on here, I have to say, is a lot better than I expected. It's definitely on par with most of the higher end Seikos that I have reviewed on my channel. And I'm talking about like LX and SLA models. This is really nice. The whole case, everything here feels almost to that quality. And there are definitely quality differences between the lines of Seiko. A lot of people think that there aren't that many differences. There definitely are. And Seiko are coming out with a GMT that's going to be an office GMT that's in the SKX or 5KX case, I should say, not the SKX case, because it's a 5KX. It's their Seiko 5 line, and they're coming out with a GMT version that's going to have a 4R version of basically this movement, but it's going to not be a Traveler's GMT. The only difference is essentially is that when you go to change the GMT, you pull out the crown in the change a GMT position, which is the second position. it's going to move the actual hour hand, the local hour hand, instead of moving the GMT hand, which is right there in blue. So if it moves the local GMT hand, they call that an office GMT. If it moves the hour hand, that means that it is a traveler's GMT or a true GMT. And it's called that because that's what Rolex do. And it's a little bit more desirable. It's a little bit easier to actually just change the local hour time where you are and just keep this as your home time when you're traveling. So depending on how you want to actually do it, it really isn't that big of a difference, honestly, in my opinion. This is a true GMT, and a lot of people really do enjoy that. You have applied indices. Of course, you're getting Lume on here. You have a sapphire crystal, all that good stuff. This is a stainless steel case. It's pretty heavy from what I feel here. And then the buckle, really nice milled buckle. This is probably pressed, but in Grand Seiko you get a little bit of or not even Grand Seiko, in higher end Seiko. So recently I had the LX on my channel. That was the Moon dial, which is just a, oh my god, just a gorgeous watch. That you press both of these buttons and you could actually adjust the bracelet, and this doesn't get that. So you just have two positions of micro adjust. So there's a difference there, but the bracelets are basically on par. That one was in titanium, this one's in stainless steel. That's really the only difference. I gotta be honest, I think I like this one a little bit better because it is stainless steel. It feels a little bit more substantial. You know, you have polishing where the polishing is always on these watches. You know, Grand Seiko, Seiko, they just love to put these polished elements in the bracelet down the middle. I like a traditional oyster style bracelet, but whatever. And then the buckle, you know, you have these little chamfered edges here. It looks good. I mean, everything operates nicely. It's not the most satisfying click, but there you go. I think this is around 41 millimeters, I want to say, is what I think I measured this at. So it's 42 millimeters, sorry. It's spot on 42 millimeters, actually. But because it has a little bit smaller of a dial space, and then you have a little bit of case that goes around that bezel, it does look smaller because of that. So it's 42 millimeters. It wears probably in that neighborhood as well. I've actually been wearing this just for, you know, around the house, just to get a feel for it. It is not my watch, so I don't want to wear it outside. I don't want to damage it in any way. 14 millimeters. And then the lug to lug on here, you have male end links, but they don't protrude very far past the lug end. So it's 49 millimeters and then 42.8 millimeters. And then the crown on here is 6.8 millimeters. Really nice big crown, and it is deeply signed with the Seiko S. So very nice. And as I mentioned, price on here, you can get these anywhere between around that, you know, $1,000 range, $1,100 range, brand new. You can get them used for obviously cheaper than that, and then up to $1,500, somewhere in that range as well. These were limited edition of 3,500 pieces. They're still for sale. So that's the reason why they're actually selling for, you know, less than retail, which is great. It's like refreshing that you could see these and actually buy these if you want one. I don't know if Rock the Watch has this for sale on his website. I don't think so. I don't think he would have lent it to me if he did, but if he did, I don't know, but definitely check out his website. He sells a lot of watches, and he buys duplicates of watches, so he may have more than one of these if he's selling it. So I know this is his personal watch, and I know he loves this watch because we have talked about it many times, and he feels sort of the same way that I do about this watch. So two other things to note: you do have a really long second hand on here that is blue, matches the GMT hand. That is also lumed. And then, you know, you have the applied indices, you have an applied logo, you have an applied ring around that little date wheel down at the 6 o'clock. It just says Presage, automatic, GMT there at the 9 o'clock. It's a busy dial. Seiko love busy dials. If you guys are not familiar with my collection, I have a Grand Seiko chronograph, one of the busiest dials I think money can buy. I love it. But you have to like that. If you don't like that, obviously these dials are not for you. And then you have that texture, which adds a little bit to the busyness, but what a beautiful texture. They make time-only versions of these watches as well. Obviously not GMTs. They don't have bezels, but the misalignment is unfortunate. It looks like the chapter ring lines up. It's just that 24-hour you know, the 24 and the 24-hour track on the bezel sort of is aligned a slightly left. It's not incredibly bad, but it definitely is a little bit left. Now, I'm not sure if that's the chaptering and the indice that is right, or if it's the bezel that is left. I think it's the bezel that's slightly left. And looking at the 12 o'clock on the bezel, it's really hard to tell because there's really there's no way of telling. Actually, no. With the 6 o'clock, it is definitely aligned left or right of the 6 o'clock. So there's alignment issues on this watch, definitely. And that is unfortunate. But let me quickly throw it on my wrist, and then we're going to do a lume shot. You do get Lume Bright, something that is you know, proprietary to Seiko and amazing. Honestly, they do such a great job with Lume Bright. Today I have on a very controversial watch, especially in the Rock the Watch household. This is my Omega Moon Swatch. And I have to tell you, I do like this watch. I hate the strap. I'm going to change the strap out immediately. I put it back on just so that Rock the Watch could review it. He had this for a few weeks, and he absolutely demolished it in a video with good reason. And I'm going to make a video very, very soon talking about how Swatch and the Swatch group sort of lied to the people who were waiting online for these watches, and they have changed their story a number of times now. And you know, I was lucky enough to get one, but I have seen the tide really turn on these watches. People are just hating them now, hating this watch completely. And I'm sure there's plenty of people out there who just don't speak up and are in love with this watch still, but there you go. So here is the Presage GMT on my 7.5 inch wrist. It is like a slice of Grand Seiko for $1,000. It's like going to the store and saying, I want a Grand Seiko GMT, but I only want to spend $1,000 of that, you know, $5,000 or $6,000 that a sort of base model Grand Seiko GMT, automatic GMT would cost, and you get this. And when they give this to you, it's almost, and I'm not exaggerating when I say this, almost 75% of what you get from that Grand Seiko. Again, that is my opinion, but that is really how I feel about this watch. I own a Grand Seiko, and it is in stainless steel. Come on. They really did a very good job with this. Seiko, their high-end stuff is awesome. Now, the movement is nothing to look at. Besides that, I think everything else is really, really well executed, except for, of course, that bezel, which is misaligned. I like the bezel, just I don't like the misalignment. That's unfortunate, but there you go. I'm gonna actually do a quick comparison video of this to the LX, and then I'll do a comparison in that video to my Grand Seiko as well. That, you know, I have a feeling that this is going to be, you know, a contender against both of those watches, but we'll do that later on. So anyway, tell me what you guys think down in the comments below. Am I wrong about the quality of these Presage watches compared to Grand Seiko? I want to hear what you guys have to say, and compared to the LX line as well, which is Seiko's higher end line. Very quickly, let's do a lume shot and then wrap up the video. So it's not the best lumed Seiko that I have ever seen. However, where it is applied, it's applied brightly, liberally. Of course, on those hands, you have it on the GMT hand. There is nothing on the running seconds. I like to see that. I wish there was something on the, a little bit of lume on the running seconds. I like to see that my watch is running in the dark. Unfortunately, they didn't do that here. You only get little dots of lume, little bar at the primary indice, at the 12 o'clock indice, or index, excuse me, and that's really it. Everything else, not lumed. I wish there was a more lume on here, honestly. But again, it's not the best lume Seiko that I've seen lume, but Lume Bright is bright and lasts long. And all in all, for $1,000 or thereabout, for a watch like this, new on the gray market, phenomenal deal in my opinion. Tell me what you guys think down in the comments below. I want to hear from you guys. Again, I want to thank Rock the Watch for lending in this watch to the channel. Of course, I very much appreciate that. Check out his channel. I put a link down in the description below. Awesome watches. Last watch that I reviewed from him, of course, is the chronograph version of the PRX. One of the first guys to have one on YouTube definitely check out his channel. He is killing it. And of course, he has a website. He sells watches, so check him out. Don't forget to like and subscribe here on my channel, Watch Chris. I very much appreciate that. Hit that bell icon so you're notified of when I release videos. Please also don't forget to follow me on Instagram. My Instagram is Watch Chris Blog, all one word. I post there on a very regular basis. Also, I have some links in the description. Those links are to Amazon. If you click any of those links, you buy anything, it helps support my channel, and I very much appreciate that. It doesn't cost you anything extra or interrupt your Prime benefits or anything like that. Really no difference to you, just helps out the channel by being an affiliate. That's really it. Thank you for logging on. I'll catch you guys in the next video.